All right. Okay, we want to respect everyone's time and get going. So first of all, welcome everyone. We appreciate you joining us. My name is David Roberts and I'm the Executive Director at the club. I don't know how your screen's orientated, but George Lutzker, if you give us a wave, is our club president. He'll be speaking in a few moments. And then in the black shirt, we have Justin Howard, our club administrator. And then we have our technical director, and Nate Boyden. Okay, great. We have some coaches joining as attendees. Again, this is a webinar format, so different from a regular Zoom meeting, which I'm sure you guys do day in, day out Zoom meetings. So in this case, everyone's camera is automatically off. You're on mute. For questions, there is no chat feature. Instead, we have a Q&A tab that you can use for questions. We will try and hopefully proactively answer as many questions as possible, but certainly if there's questions you feel that you want us to answer, put them in the Q&A and we will answer them either organically as it goes through, and then certainly at the end if possible. If we don't get to your question, we have a log of all the questions that are asked, and then we will get back to you. We'll get back to everyone with a document with all the Q&A a day or so after the meeting. So we want this to be as as open as possible. Our objective here, which I'll go over in a second, is to give you as much information as we can and provide as much feedback and answers to your question as possible. Like I mentioned, or I haven't mentioned, but we are recording this. We'll share it with everyone that registered for tryouts. In the case that some people can't attend, we'll also send you the slide deck. So we'll make this available to everyone. So no need to take notes on the slides or screenshots. We'll make the slide deck available as needed. I've noticed already someone put their hand up. Again, this is a webinar format, so to ask questions, use the Q&A, please. It might have been an accident, I'm not sure. So cameras are off, everyone's on mute. Please use the Q&A, and we'll get to the questions. Okay, so that's it for the housekeeping. Welcome everyone. Again, I mentioned. The objective for this is pretty simple. It's to provide our current members and non-members registered for tryouts an overview of our club, and then to answer any questions to the best of our ability during, I guess it's kind of an uncertain time because we're transitioning from the craziest period in, I think, certainly my lifetime, but for most people's lifetimes, I'd imagine, and hopefully we're transitioning towards some level of normality, or at least I think we are. We'll do our best to answer the questions. If we don't have the answer right now, we'll endeavour to get the answer. And like I say, we'll answer them throughout the course of the webinar, and/or we'll send a summary via text or email with the answers to the questions that we didn't get to. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to Josh Lutzker, our president, to say a few words before we dive in. Josh.
Awesome. Thank you, David, and I appreciate everybody's time that you're spending with us tonight to learn a little bit about Davis Legacy. I would be remiss not to, first of all, just thank everybody, not only for your time tonight, but for our current members, for your commitment to Davis Legacy, for prospective members, obviously, the commitment that you made to your previous club and or recreational soccer endeavor over the last, I guess it's been 14 months now. This is going to be, I believe, my 12th year being associated with Davis Legacy. 10 of those years with my daughter playing there. Last year was her first year of college. And so we're going into my second year of continuing to be part of this organization without a child in the club. Hopefully that says something to you about my commitment and the organization's commitment to providing you with just an absolute fantastic place to bring your kids to experience soccer and to experience life. One of the things that was most important to me and my daughter while she was there was the amount of growth she had, not only soccer-wise, but socially, and the life skills that she built were invaluable, and she's been able to put them to use as a freshman in college playing soccer. And probably, as we all know, the most difficult year that any of us have ever experienced. So again, welcome tonight. Hopefully we are able to provide you with a lot of information to show you the strengths and why we're such, I believe we're such a great club. And I welcome to see you all out there next week. I believe next Wednesday night would be the last night. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Obviously, we know these are times to be, the kids are nervous and that you're nervous, but we will do our best to make everybody feel comfortable and provide an environment for your kids to excel during the trial period and then continue to excel as they grow through our club, since this is the younger age groups. But again, appreciate your time. I appreciate our members that are on this listening for your dedication last year, and welcome to everybody that is hopefully going to be a new member of Davis Legacy. David, thank you again for inviting me, and I'll be sitting here answering questions as the meeting goes on.
Thanks, Josh. And then just to make a point, one of the unique things we have in having Josh as a president who's been here so long is that, to use the phrase, he doesn't have a dog in the fight. His kid has graduated. He's here now, surely because he cares about the club for the passion. Certainly doesn't get paid anything to do it, and he's been there from the start as a parent and as a president, as a manager, and he's got a good I guess a 360 view of everything. And his goal, like ours, is to try and help the club to improve and to evolve. So thank you, Josh, for everything. Again, some people just joining us a little bit late. I put in the chat while Josh was speaking. Is a webinar format, so I noticed there's a hand or two going up to speak. We don't have a chat feature because of the number of people on here. If you do have a question, please put it in the Q&A. There's a Q&A tab, and we will address as many questions as we can throughout. So thank you. Okay. So our mission and our vision, hopefully if you're interested in our club, if you've been at our club, you've done some research and or you're aware of it. So I'm not going to give you the chapter and verse, but basically in a nutshell, we're a soccer club. We want to obviously develop soccer players to the highest level possible. But ultimately we know that soccer is a vehicle for developing so much more than soccer players, for developing people with interpersonal skills, for developing people that can thrive in the workplace. It's a vehicle for giving players the opportunity to face adversity, to learn from it, to grow from it, to be part of a team. And I think the whole COVID situation, we quite frankly were not sure about how many people would continue to play soccer, but overwhelmingly the feedback was that they realised how much not just soccer but sport is a big part of keeping their kids sane, keeping them thriving, keeping them engaged, keeping them motivated. And we take great pride in that. We're looking to try and create more than just soccer players. We've had so many people that have graduated from a club that have gone on to quite frankly make the world a better place. And we're still in touch with these people. So a lifelong passion for the game. I'll get to a slide in a second, which will show that. But we are a small part of a journey to fulfill each person's personal growth. So ultimately that's at the top of our pyramid, which you'll see. I'm confident that if you ask any coach what ultimately we're trying to do as a club, they would reiterate that, not because they're reading the slide, not because they're I guess programmed to say it, but because we make it very clear. And I will say again that my predecessor and the founder of the club, Ashley Uden, that was a huge part of his vision for the club, is to create well-rounded, good individuals, and we continue to try and do that through our club. Again, our philosophy, and again, it's synonymous with what I just said earlier on. Lifetime, participate in the sport throughout their lifetime. In terms of soccer, we want to try and create an environment where we're free from failure. Some of the best compliments we get as directors is that, when our coaches don't coach much or they don't see anything from the side. And that can sometimes be odd, but in the younger ages, and I say odd in the sort of, I guess, the sort of contemporary model, if you will, but very often when coaches are not coaching during game day, they're allowing the kids to learn. Their coaching is done during the week, the preparation, and the game can ultimately sometimes be the test. And quite honestly, the other side of it is all the studies and all the science will show you that when you're yelling at a kid while they're trying to do something, they're busy, they're engaged in the ball. If they hear something from the side in that moment, they're not going to process it. It's not going to help. So we take great pride in the fact that our coaches often allow our kids to play, develop. It's not been a lazy coach. It's not been a coach that doesn't want to shout and yell, but it's been, I would say, a progressive coach that understands that the environment where kids are problem solving is actually a productive one. We're very competitive. We want to try and win. In our DNA, I think all our coaches, they're competitive. We say all the time that winning is not the most important thing, but wanting to win is. You've got to have a desire to try and go over that line and score more than the opponents. How we do that has got to be within the philosophy of the club, the DNA of the club. If we win a game because our players dove and got a PK in the last second and scored the goal, that's really not what we want to do. We want to win it within our style of play, which is creative soccer, certainly in the younger ages for sure. So that's kind of where we are as a club. I'm very proud of our staff and our technical team and trying to continue to deliver this message, and certainly the parents that endorse it, which is the vast majority, and understand where we're trying to go with this. So hopefully that gives a little insight. We're very, very proud of this. Very few clubs in California or the country have a program where we start with an incredible academy run by Brian Seifert. Is one of the best in terms of just running our grassroots program, academy program, where we get kids in that have, again, fairly loose in terms of structure, but also very structured from the back end. You probably don't see the amount of time, the effort that goes in when Brian runs his academy, from the session plans to the staff meetings every Monday. And then when you go out there, they're football and they're playing, they're doing what they love, they enjoy it, but there's a lot of work that goes in there. As we go through, we have the different stages. And then recently, we're very lucky or very proud to be part of the WPSL through California Storm, which is the Women's Soccer League. Previously, we were in the UPSL. We never really got going because of COVID, but that's the fourth division of professional soccer for men. And then the WPSL is the second. So we're really fortunate that we have a pathway so that kids that come all the way through the club, it's really nice to see now we have some kids that I can remember at this stage are now playing with their respective men and women's teams. Very often, the big criticism of the US model is that kids graduate, they go off to college, and then they've got nothing else. They've got nowhere else to go. So I guess a European model is that we have a club all the way through. So we're really proud of that. We've worked hard to get there, and we can truly say that we now have a pyramid which allows players to progress through each of the stages. And at the very top that was cut off is, like I said earlier on, is lifetime soccer. So if a kid doesn't decide, if a player is not maybe at this level, that's fine, but perhaps they decide that they want to play intramural at college, they decide that they want to play recreationally, they want to kick the ball in the backyard with their kids when they're older. That may be the case. So ultimately what we want at the top of this is lifetime soccer, and this pathway within our club hopefully helps try and achieve that. So we're really proud of that structure. Obviously, we're really lucky to have an incredible facility. We're really proud of it. I don't want to talk too much about it because at the end of the day, this is I guess the philosophical question that we asked our coaches during our coaches meeting, and we'll ask the players, is why do you play at Legacy? If it's because of the facility only, then that's not the right reason. That's not the right reason. That's the bling. If it's because we have, an Adidas sponsor, because we have nice uniforms, that's not the reason to play at Legacy. It's a very nice thing to have. The environment, the training facility is huge from a development standpoint, but ultimately, I think that our coaching staff is the most important part. I was in education for a while. I looked at schools that had incredible infrastructure. They had all the technology, they had all the bells and whistles, but ultimately the most important thing is the person in the classroom, the teacher. and we believe the same. We have a great facility, but ultimately our staff, for me, is a crown jewel. And I flipped that. I said 2 or 3 years ago that our facility was a crown jewel. So that, we're always evolving and learning. So what I mean by that is we've worked very hard to assemble an incredible staff. We have 40 certified professional staff. And, we put down one of the most experienced and qualified youth coaching staffs in the country. And, we don't want to be too, I guess, egotistical, or I don't know, but really we do, because, for example, the UEFA Pro license, the USSF Pro license, there's only 20 people in the country that have it, in the entire country, and that includes professional coaches. UEFA A license is the highest level of coaching licensing in Europe, and then the A license, just to give people an idea, it takes a coach 2 years, probably about $7,000, and a lot of grey hairs to get a USSFA license. Nate'll tell you that's why the beard is starting to get a bit grey. So, and even just now, the USSFC license is 7 months, over $1,000. This is at the coaches' expenses. The coaches that are pursuing their licensing are spending a lot of time and a lot of money, and they're doing it to enhance their professional development, which ultimately will impact the kids. Again, a coaching certificate, a coaching license doesn't make or break a coach. I've seen it all, we all have, but we also feel that our staff have a lot of experience, whether it be through coaching, whether it be through their other jobs through the day. And we're really, really proud of our coaching staff. So for me, 2 or 3 years ago, I would have spoke about this for longer, but that's the hardware. Oh, that's the hardware, and this is the most important thing. This is what makes it tick, and we've worked really hard to improve that. As far as this year, we've hired 7 new coaches. I won't read it all out, but Janae Gonzalez is very well known in the area. She's played in the World Cup for Mexico, scored, I think her goal was goal of the tournament. She just returned from playing with Club America in Mexico. Credible person, great coach, and we're lucky to have her. Ali McLennan, very experienced coach. He's been a staff coach at Placer. He's worked at, again, I don't want to go through this all in the interest of time. You'll have the slide deck, but we're really fortunate to have not just people that have great experience in the game as players and everything, but also a great education background and studying the game and learning the game. We're so fortunate. We have so many people that want to coach in the club, and we're lucky that we can dial in who we actually feel will work with our ethos and our philosophy, which Nate will go over in just a second. This down here is my fault, Alex Monslav. I put it down as a placeholder, and thank you, Nate and the others, for not telling me that I made a mistake. I forgot to put his biography in there. Very experienced coach that's joined us. He was originally out in Florida. He's a teacher. He has a USSFC license, and he's going to be working with us as well. So we have Alex as well, which I'll update. So with that, I'm going to lead you over to Nate. And just before we go on to Nate, I'm going to preface this by saying Nate sent me his slides, and I said to him, Nate, a lot of this is too much for lack of a better word, just the average parent that wants to learn about the club and tryouts. And he did dial it down from probably 7 slides to 2. But then I thought about it and said, you know what? I think if people are interested in our club, it's important to hear our coaching philosophy and what we're trying to do as far as developing your players as soccer players and as people. So Nate, as many of you know who've worked with him, he's coming from a professional environment, worked at Chicago Fire. He's a Davis native. He's played in the club. He's been in the club, and he's at a different level when it comes to the pedagogy of coaching and teaching, and he's just a breath of fresh air. So we're so excited to have him as a technical director. This is his second full season, and he's going to take you through a few slides, and then we're probably going to go into more of the nuts and bolts about how tryouts work and logistical questions, etc. So Nate, take it away.
Thanks, Robo. Thanks everyone for being on here tonight. As Robo mentioned, I grew up in Davis and I played for the club. So it's an honor and privilege. I feel very grateful to be able to come back and be at the Davis Legacy. I remember when there weren't any fields out there, right? So I was 12 or 13 years old, and I remember removing the concrete from the old drive-in movie theater that was out there in order to clear the space for the first pod, right? Fields 1 through 3 that are out there now. And to come back and see what Legacy has become is incredible. And for me as a player and as like a young person, Legacy was a place where I felt nurtured, right? It was a place that I could come back to, and I felt like I was nurtured as a young person, and that's what I want it to be still, and that's what I want it to be for our young people, a place where they're nurtured. Now, obviously, we have a soccer emphasis, but the whole person is important to us at the Legacy. And so what this slide is showing here is what I think are 3 pillars of coach education or continued coach education. And I think if you scale that up, it's for us as a club, what we have to have an understanding in. So the first would be learning theory. I mean, some insight into how people learn, and that includes motivational theories like self-determination theory. The learning theory that has inspired me over the past year is a contemporary motor learning theory that I'll get into very, very briefly, but it goes by the guise of ecological dynamics. And then also the human experience, right? And I think we were all coming through this pandemic, and we've all, I think, come face to face with different aspects of the human experience. And that's important for us as coaches to always keep at the forefront. Social intelligence, empathy, compassion. Soccer is a game played by humans, so it's important that we can have an understanding of what it's like to be human. And then the third piece would be the football knowledge, right? The football knowledge, a kind of domain-specific knowledge that we're hoping that our players can learn and take with them. And yeah, I love soccer. It's given so much to me, and I think one of my favorite quotes is, "From one thing, know 10,000 things." So there's more to life than soccer, of course, but there's more to soccer than soccer. And I think that's why this can be such a beautiful game. So now I'll dive in a little bit with a focus on the learning theory, because again, with the pandemic, with almost a complete year or even more without games, we've had some time to theorize. And I think this is an interesting area that I want us to go a little bit deeper in, because I think it's going to inform our practice. All right, so Robo, if you could go to the next slide. So the learner as a complex adaptive system. I think that with the new problems that we face in the world, it helps to have a complexity science lens taken to some of it. And so to kind of help explain that, I've set up a complicated system, and here it's the rocket being launched versus a complex system. And we all have families or children. I think that's why we're on this. And so you may be able to recognize the distinction. Complicated system, as long as you know the inputs, you can predict reliably the outputs. So if you know the math and the engineering behind what goes into launching a rocket, you can predict that output pretty reliably. Whereas when it comes to a complex system, and I would say the human being is a complex adaptive system, if you scale that up, the team is a complex adaptive system, and here the family is a complex system. The same inputs, for those of you that have multiple children, you'll know that the same inputs don't necessarily give us the same outputs. It's very, very hard to predict how given inputs may affect a system, and then what those outputs are. So again, you may have the same food, the same sleep schedule, but your 2 or 3 children may be totally different. And I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 9-month-old. So definitely speaking from experience. But just because we cannot necessarily predict the outcome or the output, it doesn't mean we can't understand the process. right, and understand that system. So I think that's what we're trying to do here in order to help growth and development take place as best as possible. All right, and then the next slide, please, Robo. So I include this slide because I think this is an important model. This is a model, again, kind of underneath the dynamical systems framework, but it's looking at how coordination emerges. So ultimately, yes, we have, I think, movers, right? Like we want children to enjoy moving, enjoy being in their body and moving their bodies, and then being athletes, right? Being athletes. And then after that, soccer players. And then maybe if you want to keep going there, position specific players. But I think we're all movers first and foremost. And if we can kind of capture the joy of being in our bodies and moving our bodies, we're on the right way. So what this model is showing is that coordination at the individual level, but again, scaling up to the group level, is really based on the relationship of these three constraints: the individual constraint, the environment constraints, and the task constraints. And I think what a good takeaway is for us here is that, yes, let's say players first, if you're familiar with the players first, like to say that this club is a player-centered club. I mean, I want us to take it one step further and say we're player-centered in the environment. You cannot really remove the individual from the environment because the environment has such a big impact. So for example, take environmental constraints. I mean, some of our best trainings this year have been in the howling wind, the hard rain, because it changes the task so much. Passing the ball on a slick surface or making a save on a wet surface versus a dry surface or with the rain, it totally changes what the performer has to do. So again, you have these nonlinear relationships between, let's say, what the environment is giving us, and then now what your task might be on the field. And then of course, these individual constraints, and these have different time scales. Structurally, kids are going to grow, mature at much different rates. Functionally, these might change a little bit faster. A player's fatigue, maybe their mood, their motivation over a longer time scale. But again, this is going to literally affect how we coordinate, how we move our bodies, and then what the coordination of the team is like, again, scaling up from there. And one more piece that I want us to take from this model, and I think this is where coaches can get a lot from it, our biggest influence is to manipulate the tasks. So if we talk about what it looks like on the field, some things that we can manipulate are like the scoring mechanism, scoring on a big goal versus maybe two wide goals. This is going to change how you attack, whether it's central or whether you look to go out wide. And again, this is going to affect how the group try to coordinate its behavior or movement to solve the task. But with that is as well, and Robo, I'm going to jump on your point about sometimes a coach being quiet, right? Because instruction or verbal feedback, it's a task constraint. And I'll take it one step further. If it's the parent as well, coaching from the sideline, we have to understand this is a task constraint. It's going to affect the coordination behavior of the performer. And it's not necessarily good or bad, but we have to understand that it's going to have some sort of influence. So I think this model is important to have us recognize, again, it's the player centered in the environment, and let us know that we're all in this together, trying to create the best environment to allow great football to emerge. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Nate. And just to kind of tie that up, as Nate has been doing coach education throughout the time he arrived at the club with their coaches. So they're having a brown bag series where they meet on a Friday and discuss pedagogy, coaching, coaching challenges, coaching, theory, evolution. So I guess for us, it's important that we want you to know that we might have A licenses and all this stuff that we mentioned earlier on, but we're always learning, we're always evolving, we're always trying to keep up with the latest research. And that's a big part of our commitment to coach development and coach education. And like I say, we're really, really happy with the technical lead, which is Nate, and all of that stuff. So I think it's important. A lot of stuff there that that may be too much for just trying to figure out where to go for tryouts, but also it's important to understand that we do have a plan as a staff, and we're trying to improve our coaching, and we have some great leadership in trying to do that. So thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
So on to tryouts, which is, you know, I always describe tryouts as a kind of necessary evil. We don't like doing them. It's the toughest time for coaches, but I also know even as a parent as well, it's a really tough time for everyone. But this is the model that we have right now. It's not perfect, but it's the model that we have. Obviously, the tryout times you should be aware of. We've posted it on our website. We have a link down here, which is a link to all our tryout information that will be updated. I know, for example, we will be sending out, you know, we have a big complex for those people that are new. We'll be sending a map, so that'll be updated on the website and sent via email. But if you do miss anything, or you feel you've not got it, our website will be updated with that information. In terms of the technical, we'll send this out in an email as well. You know, as far as evaluating the players, we use the acronym TIPS, which is certainly not something that we've coined. It's quite a, I guess it's quite a common. I think it's a Dutch, kind of comes from the Dutch. Is the technical, the TIPS technical. We want players that look comfortable with the ball. You know, when the ball comes to them, is their first thought to control it and then make a decision, or are they going to kick it? So we want them to obviously look to be comfortable when the ball comes to them. Insight, game awareness. You know, you see the players that can understand time and space. Sometimes it comes naturally. Sometimes it comes through just, you know, understanding the game, watching soccer. Personality is huge. We tell the players all the time this should be, it could be a given. The two things you always can control are your effort and attitude. So again, the analogy we use a lot is if you've got two players that are really, really close in the technical, the insight, and then the speed, and you've got one kid that's really shining in terms of their effort, their attitude. Sometimes that's the thing that tips it for that player, or very often it is. Speed is the one thing. I was on a call yesterday with a sports science group, and it is the one thing now that in soccer, you know, in many sports, it's a very, I guess it's a very black and white. You know, they can look at that early and decide your speed, but not only just physical speed, but speed of play and speed of thought. For those people that followed soccer for years, you look at people like Xavi and Iniesta, not the quickest, Lampard, not the quickest in terms of running from A to B, but their awareness, their ability to check their shoulders, to scan, to take in information. And again, we're obviously, this is a younger group, so if you're a U9 parent, you're thinking about scanning and awareness, don't worry. This is just more, you know, big picture. This is the rubric we use for kind of all ages. So that's kind of what we're looking for. We try really hard not to make it, we know it's tough, we try not to make it an intense environment. Yeah, coaches will be there, there'll be multiple coaches. You know, we will have clipboards, we will be taking notes. What I try and tell my kids is just go see it as a great chance to go out and play soccer without any parents yelling at referees, or any referees making bad decisions, or, you know, just go out and play and enjoy no coaching really, because the coaches are evaluating. So I think if people can go in with that mindset, it's 3 days to play soccer. It should be beautiful weather, field should be nice. Look at it as a chance to play three days of soccer and enjoy. And I think if people go in with that mindset, it often helps. So again, not the process we like as coaches or as parents. One thing I do want to answer, you know, we've had a few people, well, how can you evaluate? We've only had, you know, the spring season as far as games. We're referring to players on current teams. The response to that is we've had, in some cases, over 100 training sessions. Teams that are training 3 times a week from back when we started in June. So coaches have had these players for, you know, numerous amounts of time. So a lot of what we when we're working with the players, they've got some concepts. Again, we have more than one coach, often 2, 3, 4 coaches out there. But you know, we do have some prerequisite knowledge based on all the trainings we've had. So I just want to make that clear in case that question does come up. So as far as tryouts, I mean, I think that's it. I mean, now the admin, this is a really important piece. We're really lucky that we have Justin Howard, who's hands down the best in the business, who keeps things moving. We do pride ourselves on I guess our organisation as a club. So I'll hand it over to Justin, and then again, if there's any questions in the Q&A, pop them in there. We'll answer them. You know, I can answer tryout questions, or Nate can during this part, because this is more the admin. So feel free to pop questions in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to answer them. So over to you, Justin.
Thank you, David, and hi, everybody. Again, my name is Justin Howard. I am the Director of Administration and Finance for the Davis Legacy Soccer Club. I've been involved with the club now for 12, almost 13 years, it feels like. 13 years, baker's dozen. And I get the pleasure of giving you all the mundane and bureaucratic piece of the operations, which is really the administrative side of everything. The coaches get to do all the fun stuff, talk about coaching and talk about the kids. But we're going to start out with, you know, accepting a spot once you get offered a spot from your tryouts. Expect a lot goes into holding tryouts and forming teams within the organization. So accepting a spot on a team is a commitment from both sides. It's a commitment from Davis Legacy to you, and it's also a commitment from you to Davis Legacy. We do require as an organization that all members who are choosing to join the club for the upcoming season, that they sign, and they'll do this electronically, a participation and membership agreement. And this participation and membership agreement is a binding agreement. It essentially lays out a one-year commitment to the team that you've accepted to join. And it talks about things such as your sportsmanship requirements. And sportsmanship is very important to our organization. It's important to NorCal. It's important to U.S. club soccer. We have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to sportsmanship. We expect everyone to respect the referees, their fellow members in the club, the coaches, their opponents, the opponents' families. It really is a non-starter issue for us. We want good behavior, and we want good behavior. We want to set examples for the players on the field. So zero tolerance for sportsmanship issues within the club. What everybody typically likes to gravitate to on the admin side is, what is the cost of the program? So we'll get into the players' dues here. First, I want to point out that our organization does not charge a registration fee, unlike many other soccer clubs in the Sacramento region, including a lot of our similarly sized organizations out in Sacramento. We don't charge registration fees, while they do. All we do is charge 10 monthly payments. You can make the payments are typically due on the 15th of the month, although they can be modified to meet your needs depending on how your income may flow to you. The payments go from July of 2021 through April of 2022. So those are your 10 months. We have not raised dues. In fact, for the 5th straight year now, dues in the club have remained flat. We're very proud of that. Despite the tough financial situation that we were placed in last year due to COVID, we still managed to come forward with a budget for the soccer club for this upcoming season without having to raise dues on participants. Uniform kits will be required for new players. I do want to stress that. New players. So if you're a returning player to Davis Legacy, you already have your uniform from last year, that's going to be the same uniform you're going to use next year. Anybody who's newly joining the club, they will need to procure their uniform for the upcoming season. We do provide 2 payment options, which will be done as part of your dues payment above. You can either pay for your uniform kit all at once with your first monthly payment, or we will spread out the cost of your uniform payment over the first 6 months. That'll typically go from July through December. There are some additional dues, or what we call travel fees, for ECNL members. So for these are players who are on the ECNL clubs. We do travel together as a team for all the ECNL events that are required for participation in that league. The club will set those fees as we get closer to the events, and those fees are typically looking at things like the hotel requirements for that particular event, renting vans as teams. So we try to do everything as a team because traveling as a team is also a team bonding experience. It also builds character for the players. So we do require everyone to travel together, and there will be fees associated with ECNL teams for travel. We do have a program. It's an injured player relief program. This is to relieve you of having to make any of your monthly dues to the extent that your player gets a significant injury during the season. This is a long-term injury-only program, meaning that you have to be out due to injury for at least 2 months. The relief kicks in beginning with the 3rd month. So for instance, say you tear a ACL or you have a knee problem, those are the types of things that would keep you out long-term. A simple ankle sprain, something like that, that may keep you out a couple weeks. We do not forgive a monthly payment due to those types of minor injuries. We do require a doctor's note to substantiate the injury before we obviate you of the need to make your payments. Next slide, Robo. We also have a very robust financial assistance program in Davis Legacy, which I'm very proud of. And I'm proud to announce that we've actually increased our financial aid award amounts for this upcoming year. So our first program is the financial aid program. This is an income-based program. Again, an income-based program. We provide financial aid in 3 tiers, either $400, $700, or $1,000 to you if you qualify. It's based upon your household size and your income according to the area median income. This information is all on the website, and we'll get to the website down below. But we encourage everyone to take advantage of it. There is no cap on the program, so as long as you're eligible, we did not turn away any eligible person from financial aid last season. I want to make that clear. No person who was eligible for financial aid was turned away last year, and we are going to continue that trend this year as well. We also have a partnership program. Unfortunately, last season, we weren't able to operate this program because we didn't operate any large events at our complex. This year, that will all change. On June 15th, most of the restrictions in California go away and tournaments and large events can once again take place. What the partnership program does is it allows you to basically volunteer for various partnerships, and for every hour of volunteer time that you put in, we will reduce your obligation, financial obligation to the club by $15. So if you worked 3 hours, that's $45 less you have to pay on your total dues for the year. If you worked 10, so forth, that's $150 less that you have to pay towards your dues for the year. The only thing I will note is that the combination of financial aid and partnership cannot exceed the amount of your dues that are owed for the upcoming season. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. We actually, in the year prior to COVID, between the 2 programs, paid out almost $100,000 in financial aid to families to be able to participate in the organization. And we're very proud of that fact. As part of joining the organization, there are going to be volunteer requirements. So the volunteer requirements for this upcoming year are 8 hours per player. That's per registered player at a Davis Legacy tournament. The club operates 6 tournaments. These 6 tournaments are our primary fundraising events for the year. And everyone will be assigned a tournament in which they will be required to provide volunteer hours. Those hours typically will involve maybe field marshal, walking around, emptying garbage cans, handing out Gatorade bars, things of that nature. I mean, I don't want to maybe field setup type work, activities like that. It will be outdoors, it will be hot, and it will be in the sun, but it's rewarding nonetheless. And it helps keep our tournament costs down so we can generate as much money to help fund many of the activities in the club. Because your dues do not actually fund everything in the club. We have a very robust operation. We have to maintain a soccer complex that is 63 acres in size, and we get no support from local government, whether it be the city of Davis or Yolo County, in terms of fiscally supporting our operations, where we are self-sustaining and self-operating through our operations. There is an option if you don't want to do your volunteer hours that you can pay a fee. We offer this every year, so this is just returning, once again, it's a $125 one-time fee to opt out of your requirement. What we typically do with that money is we then dedicate it to the tournament to help pay for staff, typically older players who are participating in that tournament, we will hire them to come out and work during the event so they can earn a little bit of extra money and basically perform your volunteer hours while out there. New this year, one thing you're going to see on our website is under our resources tab, we're going to have a health and safety area. And this is where we're going to kind of coalesce all of our documents related to player health and safety protocols. In particular, concussion, sudden cardiac arrest, air quality, excessive heat, and lightning. So these are all areas we take our players' health and safety very seriously. The state of California has recently been delving into this area by mandating certain informational sheets that be handed out to participating families. They've been mandating certain training be provided to staff who are working with youth. And so we'll be posting on that page by June 1st, all of the policies in these various areas so that it's crystal clear kind of what the protocols are. Should you have us be suspected of having received a concussion? What are the return to play protocols? What is sudden cardiac arrest? The club does have an AED device that is on its way to replace one that was unfortunately stolen. But we are prepared as an organization to meet our obligations in our player health and safety protocol area. We're going to post our air quality policy, which essentially, unfortunately, there's been a lot of fires lately and we are in the valley, and sometimes smoke can hamper the air quality in our region. And so there is a policy surrounding when trainings and our games would be canceled due to unhealthy air. And then excessive heat. If it is very hot out, it can get hot again during the summer. It can get to 110 degrees. At what point do we provide extra breaks? At what point do we maybe do training at home, online? At what point do we maybe move into the clubhouse to do training? At what point do we push training hours to different times when it's going to be cooler in the day? So that's all kind of provided for in our excessive heat area. And then finally, lightning. Doesn't occur often, but it can. And what are the policies surrounding if there is an electrical storm in the area and what to do in those situations? This year, we'll also be making available parking passes. We didn't sell parking passes last year, obviously, because there was no tournaments that were being held at the club. But once again, we'll be selling parking passes at a discount to members. It is actually cheaper to purchase your parking pass, which we do charge for parking at all our events that are held at the complex. That includes our 6 tournaments and all of the major organizations that run our fields, which include ECNL, NorCal Premier Soccer, and US Club Soccer. So we do charge for parking at those events. But you can get a discount parking by buying your parking pass, and that information will come out in June in terms of the cost and how to procure your parking pass for the upcoming season. Barefoot on the Pitch, it is the one fundraising event, the primary fundraising event for the organization as a whole. Teams are obviously free to do individual fundraising for their teams, but we do a club-wide fundraiser for the club. In the past couple of years, when we didn't do it last year, but in the years before that, we were dedicating money from Barefoot to a special fund in the club so that we can turn the tree grove area. So for those of you who are familiar with the complex, there is a tree grove area kind of in the northeast corner. And we've been dedicating funding to a special fund in order to turn that into a park and picnic area for members. So we are a ways away from our goal. I don't know if we're going to choose to dedicate the funding this year to that same fund. I suspect we probably will, but that has yet to be determined. This year, the upcoming Barefoot on the Pitch is going to be on September 18th of 2021. So mark your calendar. It is open to everyone, not just members in the club. It's also open to everyone in the community to come out, kick off your shoes. It's an adult-only fundraising event. There's food, there's drinks, and music, and it's a fun time for everyone. New this year, all members are going to get free season passes to all Storm, WPSL, and Davis Legacy UPSL home matches. Now, the UPSL team has already started their kind of spring primary campaign. They also have a fall campaign. Come fall, we will be charging for UPSL home matches for visitors who are coming to the complex. You will have to buy your ticket in order to come see their games. All members within the club will get a free family pass. It's good for your entire family. And that also applies to Storm, our partners in the WPSL. You get free entry to all Storm WPSL matches, and those matches are actually starting here very soon in June. We have a very fantastic stadium field that is been built up over the last 2 years, and we continue to add to it. It's got bleacher seating, and it's a really great venue for these matches. And those will be handed out to you by the end of June. So after you register, we will be handing them out to the coaches. We'll hand them out to the players on the team. We always ask you to visit our website frequently. That's where we convey a lot of our information, program information, club policies. That's where we list our board of directors. We do have a board of directors that we all report to. It is a 15-member board with 13 voting members, and their information is on our website. We always encourage you to go and visit our website for information. And then finally, I just want to encourage you to follow us on social media. Whether or not you choose to join Davis Legacy or not, it's a good way for you to track our club, our operations, what we do, and the benefits we provide to the community. And we provide substantial benefits to our local communities. And we're very proud of our operations and everything that we are able to provide. So we have our 4 main channels, as do most organizations, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and a YouTube channel that we hope to have it be more robust with more games being recorded and posted online for people to view. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to David Roberts.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. Thanks again, Justin, for a very thorough overview. As far as questions, I have one open question. We've had a few questions that we've answered directly, which I think you get access to the response. But one open question, and again, if you have any other questions, please type them now in the Q&A. To cover the summer events in terms of what we're doing, we understand people are trying to plan vacations. If you are a member of the club, we sent something out actually this morning with an update for U11s to 14s, but I know that perhaps people may have missed it, so I'm just kind of looking at my phone here. Again, Nate or whoever, if you want to bullet point, Nate, probably you can go to the email and copy and paste it perhaps, or Josh or Justin. Obviously we have tryouts. After tryouts, we're going to take a break till June 7th. I think a much needed break because we've been going non-stop. Then June 7th is our first kind of trainings. We do have an event, the Davis tournament event on June 16th and 17th, which is actually a Wednesday and Thursday. That's our rearranged May tournament. We've pushed it to June. We understand it's during the day, so it might be a challenge for some people getting kids there, but it's one day after the day where we're technically and officially allowed to have tournaments, which is June 15th. I do want to say I'm very, very proud that our club have decided to follow all CDPH, not even recommendations, but mandates to the letter of the law. So we're following everything, but as soon as we get that green light, which is June 15th, June 16th, we're having our sort of welcome celebration event at Davis Legacy for our team. So that 15th and 16th is definitely something to put in your calendar. Of course, 16th and 17th. We do have our club break June 21st to July 5th. So we will just get started, then we'll take a break because we know, everyone needs a summer break. Coaches, players, parents, everyone, we have our summer break. And then from there, we have our tournaments, our Davis tournaments. I haven't got them in front of me, but I think depending on the age group, some of the people on this call are in the Davis Showcase, which is in July. Some are in the August event, which will, again, we have it all on our website, our legacy tournaments. On top of that,
if you're interested in seeing the tournament dates for the upcoming year, the only one that's not listed is the one that you mentioned, David, which was that first one on the 16th and 17th. And that really is just to kind of get back in the swing of things for the small kids. Unfortunately, the small kids really haven't had an opportunity for a tournament. We want to kind of get them back out there to kind of feel what a tournament environment is like for those younger teams. But the college showcases, Premier Cup, Lily Neeson, and the spring Classico and summer Classico, all the dates and everything are posted on our tournament page on our website. So we encourage you to go there and look at it for planning purposes.
Yeah, and then additional tournaments as far as what we'll do later in the summer. Normally we're normally ahead of the curve and we have that prior to tryouts, but because of this year and the uncertainty, we don't know which clubs are having tournaments, which clubs are not. We're not quite there yet. So we'll do our Davis Legacy tournaments, and then there'll be some additional tournaments on top of that. But as far as which ones we're attending as a club, other than our own tournaments, we haven't committed to that because we still don't know what tournaments and events are having and not having. So again, people have to plan their vacation. I tell my wife as well, don't plan a vacation around the soccer tournament. If you've got to go, vacation. So we're not going to hold it against you if you have to vacation and miss an event. That's the way things go. So we all need a vacation. Certainly after the 14 months that we've had, we fully anticipate people will be getting out of town when they can. So I guess it's just a case of communicating with your coaches once things are established. I just want to go back really quickly to something. Justin, or did you have something to say there, Justin?
This is Josh. I was just going to ask if you could maybe give everybody an idea of what to expect when they show up to the complex on Monday for tryouts. Just kind of what the process.
Yeah. I'll get there. Yeah, I'll get there in a second. But just to kind of finish off to Justin's point, he was speaking about inclement weather, fires, heat. We've had it all this year, COVID, and I think one thing that this has taught us all, like probably everyone on this call in their jobs, is how we can be adaptable. I think that we've really learned to kind of be lean and mean and just kind of, figure out what's important, what's not. I think we're at a point now where, if the field's closed or we have something where we can't be on the field, we can do something, whether it be a virtual physical session with a technical team, or it can be webinars or tactical sessions with our coaches. So we always try and take kind of the positives in this whole situation. And certainly I think our coaches have, it was funny actually, we had a coaches meeting on Monday and started, everyone's on, cameras are on, no problem. And I had a chuckle because a year prior we had our first ever coaches Zoom, and it was, I wish I'd recorded it. It would have been entertaining. So we've all evolved in that capacity to give us the framework to be able to provide other opportunities, I guess, off the field to enhance the development. And to your question, Josh, what to expect? Our tryout team are working daily they'll send everyone an update before Monday, probably the weekend, if not Friday, with a very detailed idea of the schematic of our complex, where you need to be, which field you need to go to. You'll check in, you'll get a bib. Parents are not allowed beyond the fence, so you can watch from the side, but you can't be beyond the fence. And then, everything will be explained via email, but we'll try and make it as easy as possible for you to find the correct location. And if you're not in the correct location, someone will be there pretty quickly to tell you where to go. So, it is a big facility. There's going to be a lot of kids out there. I tell my kids as well not to be overwhelmed. It's kind of the same for everyone, and try and go with the mindset that it's 3 days to go play soccer and have some fun. So I don't know, Josh, if that answers the question.
I'd like to just add to it a little bit. I'll just
yeah, please.
I think one thing that you can expect is a very professional environment, right? So the fields will be set up. You're going to be told where to go, and we're going to have training staff on site in case there's injuries or somebody needs an ankle taped. The one thing I will encourage you to do is make sure you have your player bring water. We will not be having water stations for sharing purposes. So make sure everyone brings their own water bottle for any water breaks during the tryout period. So, but I think you can expect a very professional operation, right? Every coach should be in their, for lack of a better word, their uniform. They'll be wearing their legacy gear, and it'll be a very professional environment with full support across the board.
Thank you. A question has just come in there. I'll answer live. How many teams do we have or plan to have per age group? What we have on the website as far as coaching roster, if you go to your website and go to coaching roster, that is what we are looking at based on, I guess, what we had last year. But we can be dynamic with that. So if we get enough quality. We're not simply going to put teams together just to put teams together, but and I say quality meaning the level is such that, you know, they're interested in playing, and they can compete at the level needed. Then we can always look to add another team and add another coach. But again, if legacy is not for any individual, it's definitely not the end of the world. There's certainly other programs where you can go play soccer and you know, they can facilitate it. So we'll provide what we can, and the number of teams can be dynamic. Also, I just have to be transparent and say that if we do have a team listed or a coach listed for a team, and then our numbers fall way short, obviously there's not a whole lot we can do there in terms of making a team if we don't have the number of players. Hopefully that won't happen, but just to be transparent, it's really based on the numbers on the day. Hopefully that helps answer that question.
Yeah, I'll just note, I mean, this past year we had 50 teams within the U9 to U18/19 age groups. And then we have our two first teams for both the WPSL through the Storm and the UPSL team. So 52 total teams, 2 at the top and 50 youth, and then the academy below. We do offer up to 3 teams and every age group to the extent they can form based on what David just mentioned in terms of the quality being there.
Yep, a couple of questions, Justin. You could probably take this one. Do kids have to wear masks for tryouts?
So thank you. Yeah, I hear you. So during the tryout, as long as they are actively participating, players do not need to utilize their masks, just as they wouldn't if they were in a regular game. If they are just sitting down and they are unvaccinated, we are following the latest, greatest rules that were issued by the state of California on May 3rd that essentially say if you're fully vaccinated, you do not need to wear your mask while outdoor at the complex. If you are not fully vaccinated and you are able to maintain 6 feet of distance from other people, you do not need to wear your mask while out on the complex. If you're not fully vaccinated, but you're going to be within 6 feet, but not actively participating, then you should be wearing your mask within the complex. So please have your players bring their masks. That way they have it with them in case they fit into one of those categories. And we'll lay that out in the email that goes out to everybody prior to the start of tryouts with all the other details about the schematics and things.
2 other questions I'll answer live real quick. Not possible to attend all 3 tryouts, no problem. Just you know, just attend the tryouts you can. There is an absence form that you can fill out as well if you want to kind of, you know, give a reason, but certainly not mandatory to attend all 3 tryouts. So we don't make or break decisions. We encourage as many as possible, but certainly we understand there's a lot going on and it's not always possible. As far as what you wear to try out, someone asked the question. Players are wearing bibs. They wear a penny over their shirts, so it really doesn't matter. We're certainly not looking at, you know, what they're wearing, whether it be a legacy shirt or not. So just dress comfortably. Make sure we bring a ball, and then everyone wears a penny, which goes over their attire anyway. So wearing a legacy jersey or not is certainly not going to make any difference, and it's not important. So just dress comfortably, and shin guards, water bottle, ball. Please put some air in the ball, because if I'm in the tryout and the ball comes to me and it's flat, I'll probably throw it to the side because we don't want to use a flat ball. So please make sure the ball is there. Yes, I did say bring your own ball. That is on the information that if it wasn't sent out, it should be getting sent out tomorrow. We want players bringing their own ball if they have one. If they don't have a ball, we'll have extras. But in the past, we've tried to provide balls, and with so many kids showing up, it can become problematic. So we ask the kids to bring a ball as well, which not many players are used to because we provide them. But we will make that clear as we communicate through it. And it's size 4 for U9s to U12s, and then size 5s from U13s and above. But it's not a big deal if you've got the wrong size ball. As long as it's round and it bounces and it has air in it, we'll take it.
And we do provide when we do form the teams, we do provide all the equipment for the team, including a bag of balls, bibs, cones, and things of that nature for the coach to coach the team. But given the size of tryouts, we just don't provide 60 balls, one age group, for tryout purposes.
So, David, there was one question that came in the chat, and it was asking about, you know, how long after tryouts do you find out if your child has been invited to join a team?
Yeah, again, this is no problem to do it now because this is a forum, but it's on the email that goes out. We will say you will know within 7 days, but generally speaking, it's a lot sooner. Normally, we try and get things after the last tryout in 2 or 3 days. So, but 7 days is the maximum amount of time. But we will contact you. I know a lot of clubs don't, but we will let you know. You know, you'll either be offered a spot. If you're not offered a spot, you'll receive a letter to let you know. So we will let you know either way. 7 days is a maximum. We put that there just because sometimes there's some moving pieces, there's things that change, tryouts get moved. But generally, we like to get back to everyone, you know, in about 3 days, 3 days after. Couple of questions. I think they're more perhaps pertaining to the I guess I can answer this one generally. Injured player, fill out the absence form and yeah, just you know, make sure, and we'll make sure the coach has that information. So certainly if it's a player that's been in the club that's injured, we will give that player ample opportunity to be evaluated when they're healthy. So, you know, just make sure that's communicated to the coach or directors, fill out the form, and we'll make sure that when that player is ready, we will evaluate them thoroughly. So yeah, just yeah, go through that process. As far as tournaments, other than the Davis tournaments, we Justin, I don't know if you can answer that. Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know. U13 is 09. I don't think we've got any 09 teams playing in Surf Cup, correct?
Not yet. We have not discussed whether to go down to that level of the age group yet. So we'll be circling together as a coaching staff and an administrative staff in the next week to kind of finalize and plan out some of the tournaments that are potentially going to be for all the various teams. As David Robinson, excuse me, mentioned earlier, there's a lot that's still in flux, given that there were no tournaments last year throughout the state, and we're not sure yet who is all holding tournaments for the upcoming year. So we have a lot of calling and decision making to do in the next week or so about trying to get some information regarding which tournaments are going to be best for all the various teams.
Great. Well, we have no open questions at this point, so I guess that's good. I do want to say that we done our first town hall last year in the midst of COVID, and we had our fingers were hyperspeed trying to keep up with the questions, and we had to go back and answer some of them after the fact. But you know, I think the difference of 14 months and a little bit of normality, certainly a lot less questions, more normality. But certainly we're here for you if there's any questions we haven't answered, and or you're maybe not comfortable asking in this forum, although some of you have sent private, you know, questions, which is totally fine as well. We've answered all of them. Please let us know. Please reach out to us. We might not have the answers right away, but we'll endeavour to do our best to get the answers. So I just want to thank everyone. It's just over an hour now on a Wednesday night. I think for me personally, I'm really proud of how we've managed to sort of navigate through the last kind of 12 or 13 months. But the biggest reason we're able to do that is through the support of our membership, which is you guys. I think we all understand the long-term benefits that the game gives us, and why we decide to make the sacrifices, drive the miles, spend the money, and give our kids this opportunity. And I hope we get it all back in some capacity. So we're super excited for I guess, normal season. You know, if Davis Legacy is your club of choice and it works out, We welcome you on the field. If it doesn't work out this year and or you decide to go somewhere else, the door's still always open. We operate in that manner. Again, I really want to emphasize that we pride ourselves on obviously our facility and a great administration, but ultimately what we've really tried to do is kind of separate ourselves is improve our coaching staff. And we're really, really proud of that, because we feel that better coaches make better players, and better players make the game better, and the better game makes everybody's, everything just that little bit nicer. So again, as parents, the sacrifices you make, the time you put in, the money you spend, I'm there myself as a parent. I know what it takes. We thank you, and we hope it works. We hope Davis Legacy is a good fit for you. So with that said, I'm going to close the meeting unless any of the other panelists want to say anything. Josh?
Just thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Nate?
Yeah, I'll reiterate the thank you, and then I'll also just add that yeah, the U9 through U14, which is what this webinar was targeted to, is such an important age group or age categories for us. So I hope that we can show you that, continue to put a lot of resources into the youngers, because they're incredibly important, awesome, fantastic part of our club, and look forward to seeing you guys out on the field.
Justin?
Yeah, just thank everybody for their time this evening, and look forward to seeing you out on the pitch during tryouts.
Okay. Once again, thank you. We will give everyone a copy of the slide deck along with the recording of the webinar. So thank you. Have a good night, and hopefully see you on the field. Justin, I see you're replying to one more question. I'll let you finish that before I end the meeting. I think we've answered all the questions at this point. Yeah. I'll wait for you to finish typing. All right, no open questions. Okay, guys, thank you. Have a good night. Well done. Good night.